Hi everyone, welcome to another Procreate tutorial. This is the drawing that we will be completing in today's video, this awesome kind of snowy mountain drawing with some really cool trees in front. So the mountain is like a little bit of a challenge, but I make it pretty easy. We just kind of throw on a bunch of different colors, and make it all kind of come together in the end. The trees are really, really fun to draw. And then we add some clouds at the end even to finish it off. But if you are new here, I mainly post Procreate tutorials, so if that is something you are interested in, go ahead and subscribe. I also offer extra tutorials over on Patreon, so I have that linked in the description below if you'd like to check that out and follow along with some exclusive tutorials that I have over there. But before we get started on today's drawing, you will just need to download the color palette. It's linked in the description below. It's totally free to download. Just download the file onto your iPad and then either double tap it or click on it and click open in Procreate. And then the color palette will pop into Procreate so that you can use the same colors as you follow along with the video today. Other than that, there are no special brushes or anything to download. We use all standard Procreate brushes. I will also post the canvas dimensions, color profile, and layers needed on the screen and in the description below so that you can use those to set up your canvas. So take a minute to get everything ready and then come back and we will get started. Okay, so first things first, this is our color palette that we will be working with today. So we are just going to start by making our background. It's going to be a gradient of these first three colors on our first row of the color palette. So it'll be lighter in the top left corner and then get darker as we go to the right of our canvas. So let's go ahead and we're just going to be on layer 1 here. We're going to grab our first color on the first row of the color palette and drag and drop it to fill our whole canvas here like so. And then truly we're just going to kind of go in like diagonals with our next two colors. So let's grab our second color on the top row of the color palette. I'm going to grab the selection tool, set it to freehand, and then turn on color fill. And I'm just going to start like maybe a third of the way from the top left corner on the top side of my canvas and make a dot outside there. I'm going to go down into the right a little bit, maybe like, maybe a little to the left of my bottom right corner outside the bottom there. Then we're going to just tap around the side so that we fill in the whole right section here. And then tap to the dot at the beginning to complete the shape and fill it in. Click our selection tool to turn that off, and then grab our next color in line, third one on the top row, and then grab our selection tool again. And now we're just going to do this top right corner mainly. So I'm going to start maybe now, 2/3 of the way in from the left outside the top of my canvas. Make a dot there, go down into the right a little bit, make another point there, and then go back around and connect to the beginning to fill that in so that corner is just darker there. Click our selection tool to turn that off, and now we'll blur them all together. So to do that, we'll go to our wand icon, click Gaussian blur, and we'll drag this up quite a ways to maybe like 70 to 80%, somewhere in there. I want to see my dark colors just a little bit more, so I'm going to grab with my arrow tool on uniform, and I'm just going to drag this bottom left corner out a little bit so it just kind of brings my darker colors a little closer. Okay, so just kind of adjust that if you need to. But otherwise, that is a great start. So next up, we're just going to go straight into drawing the mountain. We'll just draw the shape of it, and then we'll draw the other hills in front, and then we'll go back in and lay down all of our texture. So on our layer menu, let's add a new layer. Our base mountain color is going to be the first color on the second row of the color palette, so grab that color. We'll grab our monoline brush under the calligraphy tab for this. Opacity set to 100, size let's set to like 30. Okay, and I'm just going to kind of start at a point in the middle here, not that far from the top of my canvas. Start there, and I'm going to go down the right side. So I'm just going to start. I'm going to draw just real kind of slow to get some kind of wobbly lines until we get off the right side. Start at the same point, do the same thing now going to the left. Same thing. Okay, then we're just going to fill in this below portion and then make any other adjustments if you need to. I might kind of just adjust like the point of it a little bit so it kind of makes more of a point there. It got kind of really wobbly at the top. So I think that looks good. My right side's a little bit more jagged than my left. That's fine, but maybe I'll just kind of jagged my left one up a little bit more, something like that. So feel free to do anything like that if you need to, but it doesn't have to be like perfectly symmetrical or anything. Okay, now that that's laid down, we will lay down our next three like hills. So on our layer menu, let's add a new layer above this one. Our first hill color is going to be the first one on the last row of the color palette now. Same monoline brush, same size. I'm going to start on the left side of my canvas, maybe about halfway through, and I will just kind of just make a quick line going like this down into the right, fill in below it. That got a little too high up. I want to see a lot more of my mountain than that, so I'm going to grab it with my arrow tool and move it down quite a bit. Okay, I might even rotate it so it's a little flatter. I'll kind of extend it so it goes off my screen still. Okay, but that looks pretty good. We want to make 3 hills and then still have room for our snow in the front. So just kind of whatever works for you. But we should have something like this now. Okay, so now we're going to make some like really, really distinct trees on the top of this hill using the same color, and then we're just going to use a tapered brush to get this effect. So this water pen brush under the calligraphy tab has a really nice taper to it, so that's the one that we're going to use. So same color, same layer. I am going to set my size to maybe like 20% to 30% depending on how hard you push down. And I'm just going to start on the edge and just kind of go like this all the way down, get some little kind of tree looking pieces. You can kind of like layer them, vary their heights and stuff. But we don't want any like really blank pieces of like hill. We want it mostly covered. So the taper is nice. You just push harder when you start and then let it just kind of fly up as you come off to get some nice like tapered tree looking pieces. I'll just go all the way down, even though a lot of this will end up being covered. This is kind of our little hill here. Okay, once we have one good hill, that is good. And we are going to just make 2 more duplicates of this. So on our layer menu, let's make a duplicate of this layer. Be on the one on top, click on it and set it to alpha lock, and grab our next color line, second one on the last row, a little bit darker than the one that we just used. And then go back to our layer menu and click on this layer and click fill layer. Grab it with your arrow tool, and I'm just going to move it straight down on my canvas so that we get a couple different layers of hills here. Okay, leave some good space there. We're going to fill in kind of some snow. So it's okay if it starts going off the bottom on the right side. And then we'll do this one more time. So on our layer menu, another duplicate of this layer. Be on the top one, alpha lock's already turned on. Grab our third color on the last row and fill in this layer with that color. Arrow tool, and we'll drag that down a good ways. We might not even see much of this one, but we just still want it there. Okay, now on our layer menu, let's add a new layer above this one, and this is where our snow will be in the front that our trees will sit on. We will grab the snow color, which is this 6th one on the last row, and switch back to our monoline brush under the calligraphy tab. And I'm just going to start off the left side, and I'm just going to make like a quick kind of little hill here. Fill that in. So it kind of dips down in the middle if you want, and then it's a little higher on the sides. We want enough room to hold some trees though, so I might need to make it a little bit taller. Okay, and then that being said, I might move these up a little bit just the teeniest little bit so I can see a little bit more of them. But again, we don't want to cover too much of our mountain. So just kind of place those wherever, and now we can start kind of going through and working on the rest of our picture. So everything's kind of laid down now. Now we're going to do all the fun texture and stuff. So let's go ahead and start with our backmost mountain, since that'll be kind of the main event here. So on our layer menu, find our mountain layer. Should be layer 2. Add a layer right above it. Click on it and set it to a clipping mask. We are going to grab the 6th color on the second row. So essentially the second row is all the mountain colors. So the first one was our base color. These next 4 are for the right side. And then these next 5 are for the left side. So this is the base color for our left side, the 6th one here. Same monoline brush. And we are just going to start at the tippy top of our mountain and kind of cut this down the middle. And then again, we're going to use like a slow kind of jagged motion to kind of create these little planes on our mountain there. Something kind of like this. This is what we'll work off of. So get a good kind of ridge line that you like. I might kind of redo mine. Okay. And then go around and connect it to the beginning so we have a shape to fill in here on our clipping mask. So it should look something like this. Okay, and this is where we'll start adding all of our texture and stuff. So on our layer menu, let's go back to our base mountain layer and add a layer right above that. And it will automatically set itself to a clipping mask on top of our mountain. We're underneath our like whitish layer though. So this is going to be where we do the whole right side of the mountain with our texture. So again, our base color was this one. We'll use the next 4. So we have a slightly lighter, a darker, and then 2 more lighter colors. So we'll just start with the second color on the second row of the color palette, and we are going to use the Blackburn brush under the drawing category, set to maybe 20%. And then we're also going to set our eraser to the Blackburn brush at 20%. And we're going to kind of switch back and forth between them. So I'll start with my pen, and we're just going to kind of start laying out some planes of the mountain. So kind of just following the same direction, like down and to the right. You can kind of make some cuts and stuff here, some kind of different angles, but for the most part, down and to the right. Okay, so we're just going to lay down some. We can go all the way up to the point where our white is even. Okay, and then I'm going to go back in with my eraser, and I'm just going to kind of lightly erase through some of it as well. In those same kind of directions, just to add some more texture. I'm just going to do that like a few times, kind of lay down some more, erase through it a little bit. We just want to get a good kind of variety of texture and color going. Okay, so that's just kind of the start. We'll go all the way to the edge even. Okay, then let's go in with our darker color, the third one on the second row. And we'll just kind of do the same thing. So pretty lightly, this is a really, really dark color. And I'm going to kind of try to group this together a little bit more. So instead of having it just be kind of all over like my last one was, I'll kind of have it be in more of a group. And again, same thing though, we'll go through and erase it as well. So this is kind of some shadows, so maybe they'll all be kind of grouped under some of these ridges. And a lot more maybe towards the bottom that we can see. But we can do more just also just through the middle and stuff. It doesn't have to just be the sections, but I'm kind of just trying to make some good sections of it. But there can be a little bit other darker pieces scattered throughout, kind of like this. We want a good variety kind of all over. Okay, we'll start with that for now. We can always come back through and like add more of each color, but I think that looks good. We'll move on to our fourth color on the second row. Same thing, this is like a lighter color, so I'm just going to kind of group these together as well. Same thing, we'll kind of erase through it. And when we have stuff layered, we're kind of erasing through all of it, so, you know, but that's okay. We're kind of trying to blend everything together and stuff, so. Okay, and then I will go in with my lightest color in this group, the fifth one on the second row. And we'll just again kind of like probably focus this on the areas that we already have made lighter. I'll just kind of focus it kind of lightly there in those areas. Not really doing much more erasing, just kind of leaving it, but I'm kind of focusing more towards the top part of my mountain because this is kind of like our snow. It's maybe just like in shadow a little bit, but this is our snow. So things like this, we can also come back later and add more if we need to once the other side's done and we kind of see how things are looking. Or feel free to go in with any other colors even right now to add some more like texture and definition. Might add quite a bit more of like my darker color down here. And then maybe even just go back over it with my base color. Like you can do anything like that. But I think that looks good for now. Okay, now let's move on to our other side. So to do that, we're going to go to this layer here and we're going to click on it and turn on alpha lock. And we're only going to draw within this layer now since we can't add a clipping mask to this clipping mask since it's clipped to our main mountain. So what we're going to do here instead of using our eraser is we'll just go back to our base color. So it kind of gives the same effect. So, you know, you can really do it either way. You can draw on the erase or you can draw with a darker color and then go back in with our base color and it kind of gives the same idea. So we're going to stay on this layer. Our sixth color was our base color. We'll go to our seventh one. And so our base color is basically our snow. And now we're going to go back in with these next two colors are going to be like our mountain colors. And then we'll have some more like snow and highlight colors. So seventh one on the second row. Same blackburn brush. And now same thing, we're just going to work like down the other side now. So like this is going to be we're going to go in this direction now. Again, you can have some cuts and stuff, but for the most part, this is the way we're going. And again, we're going to leave like a lot of the snow towards the top, so I'm going to leave most of that alone. And then again, like go back in with my base color, sixth one on the second row to kind of like smooth some of this out and get it a little lighter, things like that. Okay, then our darkest color in this section, eighth one on the second row. And same thing, we'll kind of make some good sections of this like darker color. Again, maybe mostly towards the bottom. And then we can go back in with like our either base color or the one right before that to kind of like help flush this out. But again, we can still have some darker pieces like up towards the top. We can still have some that are kind of just more standalone and things like that. Okay, now let's go ahead and add in some lighter colors. So let's grab our next color, ninth one on the second row, and we'll just kind of add that mostly towards the tips here to add some brightness there, and then just throughout again for more just variation, following that same kind of, directions and stuff. Something like that, looking good. Let's grab our lightest color now. Last one on the second row, and we'll just again kind of cap off some of this really lighter stuff with even a little bit lighter still. And then let's go back through and work in some other colors as well, so it's not so stark like that. We'll break it up with that color. We'll break it up with our base color a little bit. Yeah, I definitely want some of that up at the top there to give some kind of snow looking pieces. So add a little bit more of that if you wish to. And again, this is where it's like if you look at the whole thing and you like want to add more to the right side, go ahead and do so. Go back to that layer and go back to those colors, and you can kind of work some more of that in, whatever you see fit. See, I might work like a little bit more of this brighter color in on the left or on the right side, the dark side, for some more snow up top. I think that looks, nicer. We want a good amount of snow at the top here to match our winter theme. Okay, so keep on playing with that. We will cover up a good amount of this like right side with some trees and stuff. So it looks kind of, I don't know, it gets kind of lost down there, I feel like, but we'll cover a lot of that up. So that's looking great. Do as much or as little of that as you would like to. Next, we'll add a shadow to the whole thing towards the bottom. So on our layer menu, let's add another new layer right above this one. So at the top of our clipping masks, click on it and set it to a clipping mask. So we're also clipped to our mountain layer. Click the N on this layer to open up our options and set it to multiply. Okay, grab our grayish color, fourth one on the top row. We're going to switch our brush to the soft brush under the airbrushing category. Set to 100% for opacity and pretty good size, like 30% for our size. And I'm just going to go kind of across the bottom here, add a nice little shadow, maybe about halfway through, down to the bottom. Okay, one more thing, we're going to add an add layer to kind of brighten up our left side a little bit more. So on our layer menu, add another new layer, click on it and set it to a clipping mask again, and click the N, and this time we're going to set it to add. We're going to grab a nice kind of bluish color, this fifth one on the top row, and our same soft brush, and we are just going to kind of add this here like so on the left side. It looks obviously very insane right now, so just add a good amount of that, and then we'll go to our layer menu, click the A on this layer to open up our options, and we'll lower the opacity a bit until you get it to where you like it. I'm going to do pretty low, like 30 to 40%, but it adds a nice little kind of glow there while still keeping like our shadow towards the bottom and stuff intact, but just kind of brightens it up where our sun is coming from. Otherwise, that is looking good for our mountains. So now we can go ahead and add the snow on the little banks of our hills here. And then we will add the trees and then like work with the ground in the front. And we also need to add our clouds at some point, so we'll get to that as well. So next up, let's add the stuff to our hills. So on our layer menu, let's add a new layer right above this backmost hill right there. We don't need to set it to a clipping mask or anything, but we'll just grab our next two colors on the bottom row after our hill colors. So we have this fourth one to start. Grab our Blackburn brush again under the drawing category, same 20%. And essentially just kind of we'll leave the top portion alone, but right kind of here where we start overlapping with our next hill, we are going to start drawing kind of in there. So we'll draw just kind of, again, some banks of like snow through that area there. So just kind of following that same line and angle, just kind of making some big blobs, really. We won't go through and erase or anything. We'll just do a good little chunks of that. Then we'll grab our lighter color, fifth one on this last row, and just add another kind of layer of that throughout, just to add some more variation. But yeah, just some good chunks, a little texture throughout, a little like of the back hill showing, so it's not just one giant blob, but just something kind of like this to lay down some snow there. Then we'll do the same thing on our next layer. So our next layer up, this middle hill, add a layer right above it, and we'll do the same thing. Let's switch back to our fourth color on the bottom row, and we'll start in kind of, so right kind of underneath where that hill is, and that kind of helps like distinguish our hills from each other as well. Yeah, we'll make a few good blobs of that first color. Then grab our lighter one, fifth one on the bottom row, and throw a little of that in there as well. Nothing too crazy. But that kind of shows the snow on our hills. And then that is it for that part. So let's go ahead and add our trees now. So on our layer menu, let's add a layer to the very top of our layers. And we are going to draw one tree, and I'm going to duplicate it for all of them. If you wish to draw them all separately, you totally can. I just would rather not. So we're going to use these 4 green colors on the bottom row, last 4 in our line there. So we'll start with the 7th one. And we are again going to use our Blackburn brush. I'm going to lower my brush size a good amount to like 5%. We're first going to make like a little frame for it. So I'm going to make my biggest one. It's going to be like on the right side here. So I'm just going to start there, draw a good straight line vertically, hold it down until it turns perfectly straight, touch my finger to the screen to make it perfectly vertical, and I'm just going to have it go like a little ways into my snow here. Okay. Then we're going to draw the side so we can make like a little triangular base. So I'm going to start at the same point at the top, go down and to the left, hold it down again, touch your finger to the screen, and it will either snap to this angle or vertical. So vertical and then out 1. This is a little too far. I'm just going to bring it in just a little bit from that. Okay, then we'll do the same thing on the other side. So another straight line, hold it down, touch your finger to the screen. So this is our second angle aside from vertical, and we'll bring it in from that just a little bit. And then, so it should be pretty even on both sides here. Okay, so this is our frame. On our layer menu, click the N on this layer to open up our options, and we'll drag the opacity down a bit to like 50%. Add a layer above it, and this is where we'll actually draw our tree. Same color, same brush. Let's just increase the size a little bit to like 10%. And now we'll just follow this. So this is going to be the top of our tree. So we'll just start right there. And I'm just going to kind of, at each point, I'm just going to start in the middle. I'm going to fluff out to the left, fluff through the middle, and then fluff out to the right. Then I'll go down a little bit on my center line. And I'll do the same thing. I'll fluff out to the left, through the middle, and to the right, just kind of hitting our frame. Same thing, go down a little bit, fluff out to the left, through the middle, and through the right. So I'm just always starting at that same point in the middle, and I go diagonally, then through the middle I get closer to vertical, and then I go diagonally to the right. So that's just what we do every time to just create these little sections, these little chunks of our tree. And obviously as we get lower, they get thicker and wider. But we do want our middle filled out a bit, so like, fill in some spaces here and there. Okay, so again, down on our line, out to the left, up through the middle, out to the right. And then maybe we can do like maybe 2 more. We'll see. Not a lot of room for 1 more at the bottom, but I'll just make it a little longer than my frame is. That's okay. Okay, so then again, I'm just going to kind of fill in through the middle a little bit more and these like edges and stuff. So add a few branches maybe here and there just so it's a little bit more filled out. But we do want to see some good texture and some good like variation with our branches. So, okay, I'm going to delete my frame layer. And this is what we're left with. So this is the start of our tree. Just kind of touch it up if you need to. I might like make some of my ones on the top like a little bit wider. Got a little, they're just really skinny up there. So might just widen them up just a little bit and make sure we have a nice point at the top. Okay, now we're going to add some like color to it and then some snow. Okay, so let's first make our like highlight colors. So on our layer menu, let's add a layer right above this. Click on it and set it to a clipping mask. Click the N and set it to add. We'll grab our 9th color on the last row, not our lightest green, but next to it. And our light is coming from the left side, so we're going to highlight the left side of our tree. So same brush, I might lower the size to 5%, and I'm just going to start at the top and just going to kind of very lightly just kind of highlight that left side with this kind of texture. So just about till we get like halfway through the tree, just following those same angles. You can even like, kind of start working like vertically even in the middle a little bit, like so when we get, especially when we get lower and we have more room. But yeah, some good highlights. You don't have to touch like every piece of it. We can still see some dark pieces on the left. Like we don't need to cover the entire left side, but just some. Okay, so then it should look something like this when we're done. It can look a little rough right now. It'll all come together when we're done. We can do like a little bit further even through the middle, kind of just a little bit here and there, so it doesn't look like it cuts off so like starkly. Okay, same layer. We're just going to switch our color to the lighter green now. Last one on the last row. And we'll just kind of touch this again with a little bit more of a highlight. So lower your brush size if you wish to, but I'm just going to go in very, very lightly and just add a little bit of this to like the very edges, very tips of my branches, things like that. Just kind of throughout the sections I already highlighted. Like so. Then to just kind of let it fade a little bit, we're going to be on this add layer still. Grab our eraser tool and this time switch our eraser to the soft brush under the airbrushing category. Set to like 10%. And I'm just going to very, very lightly kind of erase through the middle just a teeny bit so it just gets a little bit lighter there. So like a quick vertical eraser mark is all. Okay. Layer menu. Let's go back to our base layer with our tree branches. Click on it and turn on alpha lock. And now we're going to add a little bit of a shadow. So with our darkest color here, 8th one on the last row, we are going to use our same Blackburn brush. And I just wanted to lay down the highlights first so that we could kind of see better. But now I'm just going to add some darker colors just kind of throughout like the middles of the tree, mostly on the right side, but so like the undersides of the branches, like the middle parts of the tree where the branches all come together. So not really touching like the tops of the branches on the edge, but just kind of throughout the middle and the bottoms. So nothing too crazy, but just a little bit of a shadow in there. Okay, and then lastly, we'll add our snow. So to do that, we'll go to our layer menu. We'll add a layer on top of our top clipping mask here. Click on it and set it to a clipping mask as well. And we'll grab our brightest color, 10th one on the second row, our bright white. Same Blackburn brush, same size at like 10%. Lower it if you wish to, but I think 10 is working good for me. And I'm just going to go through and add some snow. So we're going to do this all over the tree, not just on the left or right side. So We'll see a lot more of it on the left side with the light there, but we're going to do it all over. So do the whole thing. We will darken the right side in a moment, but again, just patches of snow. We're not covering the whole thing, but just kind of working in those same angles that we did when we made our branches. So again, typically like on the tops of the branches and stuff throughout. Okay, so this is kind of what we have for our snow. And then to make the right side lighter, we are going to again go in with our eraser tool. So our eraser set to the soft brush on this snow layer. I'm just going to work vertically on the right side just to lessen that just a little bit. Touch very lightly. If you need to, if you push really hard, just lower the opacity of your eraser here on the brush and try again. But I push pretty light, so I can kind of work that in there. So that just kind of helps make our snow look like it's in shadow on the right side. But after that is done, that is it for our tree. So that's our one tree. We're going to make duplicates of this for the rest of them. So this is our biggest one, probably, so that's why we made it first. They're all going to face the same direction even because the light's always going to be coming from the left side. So on our layer menu, let's just snap these layers together once you're happy with them. So we just have one tree. On our layer menu, let's make a duplicate of that layer. I'm going to grab the one on the bottom so that this one stays on top. So I'm going to grab the one on the bottom, grab it with my arrow tool on uniform. I'll downsize it a little bit and maybe move it over to the left here. Keeping the bottom like above the bottom of this other one, but still on our snow. So move them around if you need to on your snow even. Like this one can go a little closer to the front. Okay, then I'll make a duplicate of my back one. Slide to left and hit duplicate. I'll be on top of it maybe. So this middle one, arrow tool, I'll move it down and to the left a little bit. Maybe make it a little smaller still. Okay. But we're also kind of trying to frame our mountain. So I don't want to cover up the whole thing. So we might move them around even further to kind of get them out of the way, but this is a good start. I will go to my layer menu, make another duplicate of this layer. We can just grab the top one, arrow tool. I'll move it over to the right here and kind of behind. I might increase the size a little bit. And this is kind of going off the edge over here, but we're still behind our main like front one that we created. Okay, let's make a duplicate of our top one again. So slide to left and hit duplicate. We'll be on the top one and we'll start our left side. So arrow tool, I'll move it over to the left here. Maybe we'll do 3 on the left. So I'll maybe downsize it a little bit, place it kind of in the front. Layer menu, let's make a duplicate of this one. Grab the one below it. Arrow tool, downsize, move it to the left a little bit, maybe up a little higher. Okay, layer menu, let's make a duplicate of our top one again because this one got cut off by our canvas. So another duplicate of the top one. Again, select the bottom, the one below it though. So this one stays on top. Arrow tool, maybe we'll downsize it a little bit more and move it over to the right side here. Pretty hidden behind this one. Okay, so they're kind of staggered on the left there. I think I like those. I might move these two over just a smidge. Okay, and then I think my right ones I want to move over a little bit as well, just to make some more room. So I'll grab all 4 of them. So I'll select one, slide right on the other 4, so they're my bottom 4 layers. Arrow tool, and I'll move the whole thing like to the right a little bit, cutting this one off a little bit more, but making more room for our mountain to be seen. Okay, so I think that looks good. Okay. And I don't know, I might move this one back to the right just a smidge because I feel like it's like there's too big of a gap there in the middle. Okay, that looks a little bit better. So our mountain is still framed, but I don't want it to be too like crazy looking, like there's a huge gap in the middle. So now we are going to work on the snow underneath our trees to make that look nicer. So on our layer menu, let's go to our snow layer, add a layer right above it. Click the N and set it to add, and click on it and set it to a clipping mask. Okay, we're going to use our base snow color again, the sixth one on the last row, and switch to our soft brush under the airbrushing category for our brush. Opacity at 100, size at maybe 10. And I'm just going to create some kind of light through the ground. So I'll kind of hit the back side of the hill where our sun is hitting like this. I'll hit through the middle, kind of where our, light will come through. I'll hit like in front of the trees a little bit if there's room there. If you don't have room, that's okay. Okay, so that helps kind of create a little shadow under them also, but I want a little bit more of a shadow. So on my layer menu, I'll add another new layer, click on it, set it to a clipping mask, click the N and set it to multiply. This one will grab maybe the first one on the second row. And same brush, you can lower your size if you need to. I might do like 5% or 6%, somewhere in there. And just create kind of some shadows right under the trees with this pretty dark color. So then we get some good variation there. We have our bright color, we have our base color, and we have a little bit of shadows under them. Awesome. Those look great. So the last thing for our picture is to add our clouds in the sky, and that'll kind of finish it off. So on our layer menu, let's add a layer below all of our mountain layers. If you are running out of layers, you can start snapping some stuff together if you wish. Like our hills especially could all be snapped together. Once you have your snow laid down, like these 5 layers could all snap together because they're just normal layers, nothing crazy. But if you're good, that's good. We're going to go to layer 1, add a layer right above it, so we're behind everything else except for our gradient background layer. Okay, we're going to grab our cloud colors, which are these last 2 on the top row, 6th and 7th in line. We'll start with the 6th one. We'll switch back to our blackburn brush under the drawing category, just set to 20%. And we'll just create some fun kind of clouds in the background. So I'm going to start like to the right side of my mountain, and I'll just kind of start and kind of create some curves. Kind of just make a fun cloud like that. I think I'm going to kind of have them all kind of reaching to the top right side. Okay, maybe I'll have one kind of coming off this corner a little bit. Leaving some good texture on the edges. Maybe I'll make another piece kind of like this. Maybe here. And then another big one kind of coming here. Like I said, all kind of like reaching this way to the top right corner. Okay, then once I have kind of some bigger shapes laid down, I'm going to go through and add just some little kind of puffs as well throughout the sky, going off the edge and stuff, things like this. Okay, and then we can also kind of rough up the edges of our big clouds even further, just kind of lightly going through with this brush and following those curves. Make them real nice and kind of wispy looking. Something like that to start. Then we'll go to our layer menu, click on this layer, and turn on alpha lock. So we're going to draw right within this layer with our darker color now. So 7th one on the top row, switch to that, and we'll just kind of add a shadow to like the middles and undersides of them. So I'll start here. I'll kind of go through the middle again, just kind of following that shape, kind of wispy. We'll probably do the whole just kind of bottom side here, like so. Same thing, so kind of the bottom, because again, our light's coming from here, so maybe we'll have a shadow on like the middle and right side of these. but just the big ones, I'm not touching the little ones. But just to kind of add some variation to our clouds like so. Okay, and I lied about the clouds being our last step. We're going to add just a few birds in the sky to kind of finish it off. So on our layer menu, let's add a layer to the very, very top of all of our layers. Let's find a nice, good dark color, maybe the third one on the last row. And switch to our dry ink brush under the inking category. My opacity for the brush is at 100, size at like 25%. And we'll just go through and make a few quick birds, just a traditional kind of like V shape in the sky. Maybe in front of the clouds, and then you could do some in front of the mountain as well. Feel free to adjust the size to whatever kind of works for you. But I am just going to add a few there. And then once that's done, that is it for our drawing today. So I hope you had fun. I hope that you like the way that yours turned out. I hope that you maybe learned something new. And if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel so that you can see more tutorials from me in the future. If you would like to share your drawing on Instagram, I would love to see it. So go ahead and post it there and then tag me so that I can check it out. And while you're there, go ahead and give me a follow so that you can see what I'm working on next. Thanks for watching.